everybody, what's happening? I'm Tommy, and you're on the lifeboat. And this one ought to be fun. Brock Bandy, good to see you. Arwa, what's happening? Barbara, I'm glad you're here. Hey, Jane. Hey, Ashley. Brock Bandy, what's happening? I don't see Kristen Melinda, but I guarantee you she's here. Psalm, good to see you. Hey, Barbara, wait. Let's see here. And you know what? It would be a lot better if Alice Cooper were here singing "No More Mr. Nice Guy." Great reference. I actually thought about that today. Kristen Melinda, good to see you. There you are. Wouldn't be a show without you. Not to mention the fact that I'd be scared. Amy Edge, good to see you. Captain Capsaicin, good evening to you too. I'm going to warn everybody before I get rolling today that I'm probably going to offend a couple of people. Probably comes as a shock to some of you. But I'm going to offend people on both sides of the equation. I promise. We're in a really scary time right now. And if you're not getting that, then maybe you're not paying attention. The shooter that shot up the ICE facility yesterday, and apparently, if you believe what's being put out there, and I struggle with that. Hey, Heather Rhodes, I'm glad you're here. Apparently, there was some stuff written on the bullets that let us know exactly what side this guy was on, which was convenient because certainly there could have been some debate. Now, I did a little bit more research and I found an avatar that this man uses that is him with a hammer and sickle, and he's wearing a Russian, and I should say a USSR, not a Russian, but a USSR communist hat. So I tend to think he's probably left-wing, right? However, we don't have to worry about that because he was kind enough to write on the bullets, right? Why he was doing it. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm struggling with that. I really am, because now we're into a place where I don't know whether you remember this, but the guy that shot the healthcare CEO, what's his name? He's an Italian guy. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But that cat also wrote stuff on the bullets. So this is becoming a thing. By the way, I just got demonetized. You know that? Can't say bullet. That's another one of those words that you're not supposed to say. So they say cartridge and shell and all of that. He wrote on the shell of the bullet, right? So did that start? Mangione, there you go. Did that start the process? Or, hey, Renee B., or was that something different? Because the truth of the matter is I don't know. But it does seem that 3 shooters now have decided to write on the bullet. However, I'm a cynic. And it seems to me that it would be really easy to now start taking anybody that shoots and just take a Sharpie out. See, the guy that did the Charlie Kirk assassination actually etched that stuff into the bullets. It was a long process. The guy that shot up the ICE facility looks to have done it with a Sharpie. Hello, Ann from Massachusetts. And here's what starts to happen. We start needing a government to protect us from all those crazy people on the left. And I don't trust the right. I don't. There's a shocker, right? The MAGA people scare me too. They do. I voted right because I don't want people showering in the locker room with my daughter, right? I don't want the insanity that the left pushes. However, there's an insanity on the right as well. The problem is what we see, right, as the insanity on the right and the left is what the media decides that we're going to see. Somebody left a great comment on my last video that said, Google isn't research. And you're right. The AI is deciding now what Google shows you. So what you have to do is you have to look up articles. You have to look up things. Today, in the U.S., there was a grand jury indictment handed down for James Comey. Now, I would imagine that a lot of you are rejoicing about that. That also scares me. James Comey's guilty. I promise you. And there are going to be people that are saying, this is political. It's a guy going after. He went on a talk show and he said, if this had been any other administration, if it had been a tighter administration, or if they had been more well-organized, then I wouldn't have been able to get a couple of people in there to spy on him. Then he goes over to Congress and says, there was no spying. Okay, that's lying. That's perjury. And perjuring yourself to Congress is actually a crime, right? There are going to be some other indictments coming down. I guarantee you Letitia James is going to prison. There are going to be people. But unfortunately, this starts to reek a little like a banana republic whenever the previous administration's people start getting arrested by the new administration. Now, they're guilty. These are crimes. But the people that push the news out are the same people that told you that Donald Trump was convicted of rape, right? So we're not going to hear the truth about the Comey stuff or about Letitia James. Letitia James stole money from the government to buy a condominium. That ought to be fraud, right? This is the same woman who said, I am only being elected because I'm going to go after Donald Trump, right? And that's the country we live in. People want that. His first term was an abortion because they decided that they were going to paint the narrative that this guy was working with the Russians, right? And the whole world bought it, hook, line, and sinker. Yeah, they partied, they celebrated it. Problem is, it didn't happen. It didn't. Plain and simple, it didn't freaking happen. Now, you can keep telling that lie till the rest of eternity if it makes you feel good, but it didn't happen, right? So maybe these things are legitimate. The problem is half of the country's not going to think it's legitimate. And we're getting to a point, folks, where we're about this close to a civil war. And let me tell you some other things you may not have heard, because we got better news in 1988 than we do in 2025. With light speed accuracy that we can put information out, we got better news back then, because now the people that give you your news decide what you hear in a way that didn't happen before. And AI is now how most people research stuff. And if you're researching stuff on AI, you are a fool. You can go to AI and say, what is 10 plus 2? They'll say 12. If you say, no, it's not, it's 15, they'll agree with you and say, you're right. I'm sorry. I don't know why that happened, because their job is just to keep you happy. So if you're not looking into things, I'm going to do a segment on the show. I'll do it later on in the show, but I'm going to read out the name of an idiot, because people like to leave comments and assume I'm going to delete them. From now on, I'm going to make you famous. You want to be an asshat and hide behind a keyboard? I'm going to tell the world who you are. I get the feeling that when the catching away of the chosen ones takes place, there will be so much going on, it might not get too much coverage. Buckle up, people, and humble yourselves. Roger, I love that. Well, here's the thing. They're setting the table for that too, right? Aliens are coming. We have 3-Eye Atlas coming. There may be people on it, right? Yeah, they've stopped talking about that, because most of what they put out, was war species. Diane, thank you so much for the support. AI is kind of like trusting Wikipedia, where almost anyone can edit it. You know what's scary about that, Anne from Mass? Because that's a hell of a comment. The problem with AI is that there's only a couple of people that can change it, and they lean wildly to the left. You can ask AI, are your designers leaning right or left? And they'll tell you. They'll say, absolutely. Hello, Relatable Reese. I'm glad that you're here. I really am. And if that bums anybody out, I'm in the mood. All right, so here's the deal. I'm not a MAGA guy. I voted for the president, and it took about 3 months for me to start losing any faith I had in him whatsoever. If you run on a platform and you change that when you get into office, I'm freaked out, because it happened always. It didn't happen in his first term, though. What did he run on? He said he was going to build the wall. He told us all the things he was going to do. People voted for that. We call that a mandate. And then he started to do those things. But this time he ran on the Epstein thing. He talked about it a lot, right? He was going to go after those people. Kevin Hawthorne, Lakeland, Florida. Good to have you here, my brother. He was going to go after them. Then that stopped. And I said at the time, I think it's because he's using it as blackmail to get people to vote the way that he wants. And that's an opinion, folks. It's not fact. It's my opinion. Here's another opinion. They will not let the death of Charlie Kirk go unpoliticized on the right any more than it does on the left. Yesterday, an article was written in a pretty big time, Wharton Fissel, good to see you, in a pretty big time right publication that said, Charlie Kirk loved Israel. Deadhead. Look at that, man. Look at that. I would show you my tattoo, but the last time, I have a Steal Your Face tattoo. I was a huge fan of the Dead, man. One of the, in fact, right before I went live, I was actually listening to Jerry Garcia talk about how sad it is that a rock star has to speak up about things that are happening in the world. He said, it's not my job. It was one of the great clips ever. He's talking about the rainforest. And somebody in the pool of reporters said to him, oh, have you been to the rainforest? And the Dead's response basically was, no, nobody goes to the rainforest. But trust me, no matter where you live, if it disappears in the next 50 years, it's going to affect your life. And he said, and what's sad is this isn't my gig, man. I play the guitar, but it doesn't seem like a lot of people are trying to do anything about it. And I love the fact that they never tried to shove it down your throat. They didn't get up at award ceremonies and tell you that you were an ass because you believed in the opposite direction of them. I don't think you're an ass if you disagree with me. Bill Maher could sit down with me. We would have a great discussion. He would articulate every point that he had. He would counter points that I had. It would be fantastic. It's called a debate. Sometimes debates, especially if they're on this channel, don't look like it's an even-handed thing. I've had 2 people say to me, well, I was tuning in and it didn't seem like it was fair and balanced. Are you shitting me? If somebody shows up and their argument can keep up, then it will be fair and balanced. And I'm not beating on the people. In fact, the woman that I was talking to, I have more respect for than 99.9% of the people I've ever come across. Because at the end of it, she said, I love you, Tommy. I said, I love you too. I'm so glad you're here. I really am. But I'm just hoping that you're going to go and listen to 2 or 3 hours of Charlie Kirk. when I get to Ass Hat of the Day, which is the segment I'm going to be doing, I'm going to read to you something that someone has written. And the whole thing was tearing me apart. But that part is, I get that every day. But she said some things like, how dare I question the people who are saying that there was more than one shooter? These people are experts. They're military people. They're professionals when it comes to firearms and stuff like that. I'm not questioning them. I'm just not running with it, right? Until it's a fact, until someone can go, this is exactly what happened. The autopsy matched this because I've done that, right? Sean Combs is a scumbag, but I made him into way bigger a scumbag than he needed to be because I took things that people said and you start to believe it. And then you start to get out of control. When I talk about an echo chamber, I lived in an echo chamber. It made me a lot of money. And when you live in an echo chamber and it starts making you money, you start really buying into it. I'm not doing that ever again, right? I could be doing conspiracy stuff on Charlie Kirk right now and killing it because there's a market for it. You know why? Because it just doesn't smell right, does it? Two guys jumping up and yelling, hey, I did it. That doesn't happen at the average assassination, right? Most people get on the ground and crawl for cover. But you had two people that got arrested at that shooting who said, I did it. One turned out to be a child molesting weirdo. And the other one, they say, is just wildly mentally ill. But you know what's interesting? The answer to the first question that they asked in both cases were completely lucid. And the rest of the conversation was not. Now, if you're a conspiracy theory person, you go, well, it kind of sounds like it might be an MK Ultra thing. If you don't know what MK Ultra is, we used to take people and see if we could turn them into killers. This is not tinfoil hat stuff. You can look it up. Do a Freedom of Information Act, and you can look up everything on MK Ultra. We did this. In fact, there's a book about the Charles Manson killings that puts a lot of stock into the fact that Charles Manson was going to a clinic in San Francisco that the CIA ran, where they were giving out acid and they were doing what they could to try to see if you got people high, right? Then maybe, just maybe, you could turn them into something different, maybe a killer. Well, Charlie certainly turned into one. And before you go, well, Charlie was always one. No, he wasn't. He was a petty thief. There was nothing in that guy's criminal jacket that said anything other than thief. Now, it doesn't make him a good person, right? Take that from a thief, right? That was my big thing was I ripped people off. But for Charlie, he got weaponized somehow, right? It's kind of interesting. Well, the first question that they asked was, why did you do that? And they said, to give the shooter time to get away. Lucid as hell, right? True answer. And then everything else they said was babble. I find that interesting, right? The guy with the phone said, you're going to find child sex material on that phone. Like he coughed it up like most people don't. Like most people hope that maybe somehow they're going to miss that stuff. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. And when weird stuff is going on, people can take advantage of it. There are things that we don't hear on the news anymore. Do you know that United Airlines grounded every one of their flights yesterday? Put a 2 in the chat if you knew that United Airlines grounded all of its flights yesterday. Put a 3 in the chat if you're aware of the fact that another airline did it 45 minutes later. Both of them said, we had a problem. We had a problem with our software. Let me translate that for you. Somebody hacked it. Honestly, 2 companies had problems with their software. I guess maybe they both use it. I don't know. Megyn Kelly really went after Tim Miller on X. He, as a Republican, responded in a very kind, classy way. She's just doing the unfortunate, grouping all lefties together, and I disagree with the blame. You know what? I'm a little unhappy with how a lot of this is being covered. I am. Because the idea is that it would be great if we could have a dialogue. Now, I'll bust some balls. I promise you I will. Because if you want to come on here and argue a point that you can't articulate, I'm going to bust your balls a little. It's just kind of how it goes, right? One of the questions that this idiot asked me was, and I'll read it, but she asked me what right I had to be an expert on Charlie Kirk. What makes me an expert? I can make this very simple for you. And I said this on my show, but she doesn't watch me. It was the first comment she ever left, right? But what I said was the man had a yardstick. He had something that drove every single one of his answers. And that was the Bible. You don't have to agree with him. In fact, you can hate him for it and say he's a hater. But find me, right? Find me the clip that somebody told you he said, because you won't. I had to have my life completely reworked because I was a bad person. And I ended up in a prison where I could listen to him on his show every single day. I became a huge fan while I was locked up. And when I got out, I started watching every single back episode of him I could. I started looking at everything video that I could never see when I was in there. I've never heard him say anything hateful in the entire time I watched him. And I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds of hours of watching stuff. And I can't tell you how many hours of listening. I did it in 3 different prisons. But one, I had him on satellite radio. It was absolutely unbelievable. No, he just had a yardstick, you see. So if somebody started talking about something, he would say, well, no, biblically it says this, this, and this. And he believed that every single life was precious, right? The black pilot sitting behind the wheel, he believed that man's life was as precious as his own. That gets lost in the shuffle. You probably heard my brother say that we watched the Bill Corrigan interview with Bill Maher. I don't agree with Bill Maher on anything other than the fact that we can talk to people we disagree with. But Bill Maher said some incredible things on that. And one of the things that he said is the left won't talk to you. You would think with how many people I am pissing off that I would have somebody that would say, yeah, I'd love to come on and talk to you. They're not going to because they cannot articulate the point that they believe in. They believe in it because it's the cool point. Hollywood's in on it, right? When's the last time Hollywood made a movie that wasn't somewhat crappy? And I mean, by that, I mean, they're going to shove an agenda down your throat. If you don't want to see 2 men kissing, I mean, I'm not kissing women in public. I just think it's one of those things like I'm not sticking my tongue down a girl's throat. But if you're going to a film, it's guaranteed that they're working that in because they just are going to force you to accept things whether or not you like it. That causes pushback. And unfortunately, the other side will absolutely articulate why they're pushing back. And if the left doesn't, then we have an issue. But the insane thing is, I was way more of a Democrat than I was a Republican. There you go. I've always said I'm a fiscal conservative. That's not a party. I believe that the free markets basically fix every problem. I really do. And now I live in a place where you can see that. Guy buys an apartment on the first floor of an apartment building and opens up a restaurant. They're not going to go shut him down for zoning or any of that. If you can keep that restaurant going and it's making money, God bless you. If you can't, it's going to go out of business. And then something else will go in that spot. You buy a house here, it takes a signature. One. We live in a country in America where because I don't know if you've ever bought a house, but you're going to sign 7,000 places. And there's going to be an attorney, there's going to be a realtor, there's going to be 50 people that get paid along the way so that your closing costs are $12,000. The insanity of how far we've gotten. And the reason is we have all of these people in Washington whose job it is to write laws. What happens if you get to a point where you got enough laws? Do we no longer need government? No. To justify those laws, they have to write laws like if you build a stadium in the United States, the urinals have to be a certain measured distance from the floor up. We need a law for that? Are you shitting me? The first place that we came to stay, there is a bathroom in the lobby. And when you go in, the bathroom, the toilet, the commode is not built for somebody 6'2". And when you walk in, you go like this. Good Lord. I mean, it was something that immediately you go, wow, that's crazy. Now, the extreme right are racist. Doesn't make every Republican racist. The extreme left are violent. Did Johnny show you the gram? What's the numbers on that, Johnny? Grab it for me real quick. We're going to tell you the number of, I could probably pull it up on my phone here. Yeah. I think I have it though.
21,785.
21,785 acts of violence committed by people who associate themselves with the left versus
858.
858 for people doing it on the right. However,
that was 2023.
That's 2023. However, they will tell you in no uncertainty, and they have been doing this for almost my entire life, that the biggest threat that we have currently is right-wing extremists. When's the last time one shot at a president? I remember Ronald Reagan getting shot. Right now, you'll say John Kennedy. They shot John Kennedy because he was turning into a conservative. He said things like, we need to get rid of the renting of our money from someone else. We need to back our currency by something. We can't keep running a fiat currency. He signed his death sentence that day. I don't know who shot him, but I promise you that speech is what got him killed. He also said in that speech, if you could see the things that I've seen, we'd have revolution. So they shot him because he was coming out of what they didn't want. But since then, I saw Reagan get shot. How many times have they taken a shot at Trump? Where are all these right-wing extremists shooting people? Because in all honesty, the disparity between those is insane. It's absolutely insane. But again, you will hear tomorrow that right-wing extremism is the biggest thing threatening our country. I'm done letting assholes say things that don't have anything to back them up. You want to back it up? Show up. I'll let you on my show. I'll be happy to do it. While I'm in a really good mood, let me introduce you to one of my friends here. You're going to like this. I promise this will be fun. This is a woman named, are you ready? Carrie Hoberg, 8742. Carrie's probably watching. Carrie Hoberg, 8742. She won't comment live, right? Because she's a keyboard warrior. But here's what she said. Why do you think you're a chief authority on Charlie Kirk? If anyone has a different opinion with you, they're called out and you want them to come on and debate you. God forgive me. I want someone to come on and tell me why this man is a hater. This makes me an asshat in this woman's head. This is the left. I'm sorry, it's the truth. And it's a lot of people on the right. It's not just people on the left. It's a lot of people on the right too. But
Bill Vick just subbed your channel.
Nice, thank you, Bill Vick. This you were sending. You also mentioned some videos that are being made about how different scenarios in how he was shot. Some of these people are ex-military and weapons experts. Okay. And once they say what the truth is, I'll come on here. We'll do a show on it. I'll talk about it. I will tell you who, in my humble opinion, may have been involved in this. I'll give you a hint. The Mossad. I'm a little freaked out by the Mossad, and I have been for a really long time. By any means necessary, right? It's the motto. And you say, why would the Jews kill Charlie Kirk? Because he was moving away from the support that he normally gave them. He absolutely was going to support Israel till the day he died because it was biblical. However, I find the difference between their government and that land and the people that live there. Just like I find the difference between the United States of America and the government, because I love America and I hate the government in the United States. The waste is absolutely remarkable. It's literally remarkable. John, good to see you, my friend. I'm glad that you are here. It's the amount of waste and what we do, it's enough to make you sick. Okay. And you say that you're all about truth. How about you speak and do a live stream where you speak the truth about the recording Reese made, bragging about all the women you stole from? Or was that AI and you never said those things, especially what you said about Huxley? Okay. But I guess since you're a Christian, God has forgiven you for all of the crimes you did to those women, whoever else has been exposed to the real you. Well, on top of that, I also went to prison for the crimes that I did. And I'm sure that you've already looked this up because you're a trooper and someone that definitely dives deep into things. I've actually done a lot of shows on that. And I never once in my career pled nolo contendere or no contest to any crime I had ever been charged with. I knew what I was doing. I'm ashamed as hell of the stuff that I did. So you know what I did? I told the entire world about it. Nothing that came out ever anywhere hadn't been said 400 times on this channel. My past is open for the entire world to hear. How about yours, hun? You like your name out there? Or do you prefer hiding behind the keyboard? See, she figured I would just delete the comment. She didn't think that we'd be talking about Carrie. However, I'm done letting people hide. Carrie Hoberg, 8742. Welcome to the party. Now, why don't you come on and we'll have a conversation? I promise to keep my voice at this level so I don't trigger your sensitive non-research ass. Okay? Come on, we'll do it. Damien, good to see you. I'm not doing this anymore. And I'm not apologizing for it. I've had people reach out to me and say, you're being too uncool, right? You're not doing both sides. Here's both sides. Be terrified right now of all of the things that are going to happen from the right because they're in office. And when you're in office and people are shooting, right, at right-wing people, you're going to come down with a boot that is going to resemble things that we don't do normally in America. I think Antifa should be declared a terrorist organization because they most assuredly are a terrorist organization. They drive vans full of bricks out to protests, right? The damage that was done during the Black Lives protests, I got news for you. That's hideous. And we took it. You know why? Because you felt like a racist if you said anything else. Well, it sucked. And the guy that died with a knee on his neck had enough fentanyl in his system to kill me. And I'm not normal. I've never overdosed. But the amount of fentanyl that man had in his stomach would have killed me. That's the truth. He also was a former porn star, which nothing wrong with making porn, but don't name a street after him. He was breaking the law when he was killed. It's a bummer it happened. Do you know how many people got killed today because they broke the law in the United States of America? I actually researched some of it. I saw 4 shootings from today in the United States where people pulled out guns and ran at cops and got shot. Not a pleasant thing. But we're not naming streets after any of them because nobody was there with a camera, right? And they couldn't scream racism because that's the go-to scream every time. Racism. We elected a black president Not once, but twice. Do you know how many white people have to vote for a black president to get him elected? We were not doing poorly. We were moving light speeds ahead. We got Trump in the first office, whether you liked him or not. The highest rate of pay for blacks in history was under the first Trump administration, whether you like him or not. The NAACP was started by Republicans. Do you know that? Look it up. And the KKK was the military arm of the Democratic Party. But they realized, right? They realized somewhere around late 1960s that if you really started jumping on this racism thing, that it was a hell of a lot easier than politics. Why talk about the issues, for God's sakes? Why talk about the fact that we're approaching $40 trillion in debt and that we are probably 2 years away from getting to a point where everything we collect in taxes is just paying interest? That's called the debt spiral. At that point, the people in our office will have to go to war, or they will have to do something radical to restructure the money. So when you hear everybody talking about a new coin that they might bring in America, they're going to do a reverse split on that coin. In other words, you got $1 million in the bank, you're going to end up with about 50,000 coin. And the reason that they want to do this is because drug dealers and scumbags and people who just don't trust the government, who might be great people, who stick cash underneath their mattress, is going to get screwed. They want to track your money. They want to see what you're doing with it. All of these things take more freedom away from you. And the right is going to do it while he's in office. And he's doing nothing to dial down the rhetoric. Donald Trump the other day put up president's pictures in a hallway in the White House. Every single president all the way up. It's a beautiful thing. I was watching it and I thought, it's a decent thing to do outside because the press have to walk by it. It's on the way to the briefing room. I thought, that's kind of a cool thing. But when you get to Joe Biden's picture, there is a picture of an auto pen instead of a picture of him. That's not helping the situation that we're in right now. Now, do I think that Joe Biden had anything to do with the time he was in office? No. Some people from the Secret Service said that every morning they had to help him get out of the closet because he would get lost. I don't take any joy in that. I don't. I didn't take any joy in watching him stumble over his words or fall down. I wasn't a guy partying over that. That's depressing. I thought, this is a guy, whether you like him or not, he served in the government his entire life. And there's no dignity to letting a guy go out like that. That was horrible. His son is an epic douchebag. I'm not Charlie Kirk. I'd like to punch his son in the face. I really would. I think the guy's a lowlife. I'm sorry. I'm not Charlie Kirk. I wish I was. I'm not. I'm an ex-convict. I'm not going to be anything else. I mean, I can't change my life experience. I can't. And to the woman who said, and you're a Christian, so I guess, you're forgiven. I am. Yeah. It's the basis of my entire faith. It's what gets me to the other side, not because I earned it or not because I helped people get sober. I'm guessing she didn't go back and look at the number of people that we paid to put on medical assisted treatment or any of that shit. You know what? I can't take it back. Tommy and I are solid. I am very sorry for what I did. Tommy's a beautiful, big-hearted man. I love him dearly. You know something? I don't blame Reese for that. If you guys didn't catch that, I don't. And since this lovely lady is probably watching right now, I'll help you out a little. I blame myself for what happened because I lied a lot. I have things from my past that I cannot open up to people, and I've never been able to. I've hinted to things online about some of the stuff from my past. If you've watched long enough, you know probably what I'm talking about. This is actually a shining example of exactly what I'm talking about. You can't talk to a neighbor or a friend or a loved one, right? Or a daughter, son, whatever, because they voted for somebody else. The video that Reese made about me, how did the two of us sit down and have a conversation after that? Because no matter what happened that day, I knew that there was responsibility on my side as well. And I thought it would be cathartic for the two of us to have a conversation. And what ended up happening was both of us walking away from that going, I have really absolutely messed up. People on both sides of that equation took responsibility for the things they did, asked forgiveness, and then moved forward with a different understanding of each other and of the world, I think, because of what happened. And if that's a bad thing, Will, my brother, good to see you. Thank you so much for the support, Will. That's a beautiful thing. I am glad you're here. I love it every time I look up and I see you. Deadhead said, stuff happens, but you just need to move on. Yeah, well, the only reason I'm mentioning it is because I don't really feel like deleting these comments anymore. I'll be really honest with you. I don't. Now, if you start dropping F-bombs and acting like a jackass, but you want to come on and say that you hate me, knock yourself out. And I'll leave it up long enough to make you, well known. But I'm not. My challenge would be, come on and talk to me about it. I mean, they won't. They won't. That was the first comment the woman ever left on my channel. When she said, why don't you talk about that and do a live about that? Well, you can go back and watch the lives I did about that. Knock yourself out. And maybe if Reese and I ever find ourselves somewhere on vacation together, we'll do a video together. I'm sorry. I thought I'd give the haters something to talk about. Live it and appreciate the honesty, mate. I appreciate that. Here's the thing. Nothing ever came out in that I hadn't already admitted to. Was I a con man? Absolutely. There you go. Absolutely. I didn't do it after I got out of prison. And that is what I said. I had a spiritual awakening based on putting heroin out of my system permanently. Really changed my life. And a black man named Q, who is as close to a guru as anyone I've ever met, put me on a path that I never would have seen had I talked to every white guy in there with a Swazi on his shoulder or his neck. But I took the time to talk to somebody, and I took heat for it. So all of the people that are writing me letters now and calling me a racist, I walked through halls in a federal prison with a black guy. Give that a try sometime and see what kind of life you got to live when you go back to your unit. And I heard people call him the N-word. And on more than one occasion, I chin-checked people for it, which is a really bad idea in prison. And it's not Charlie Kirk-like, I promise. Well, I am Charlie Kirk. I'm not. No, I hit people for it. And then he would chastise the hell out of me. He would. I've said it a million times. You probably heard me say it. Never try to teach a fish to ride a bike. That's what he said to me. Because you're just going to waste your time and you're going to piss off the fish. If a guy's in there with a swastika on his neck, it's because that hate was taught to him in an echo chamber. And idiots are very difficult to get out of echo chambers. The reason that I yell, the reason that I raise my voice, the reason that I don't sound kind is because none of you are idiots. I'm sorry, you're not. You're not the lunatic fringe. But some of you just haven't listened to the people that you're saying are haters, right? Charlie Kirk hated this, this, and this. Go find me a freaking example of it. I have listened to tons of Charlie Kirk in lunatic amounts of Charlie Kirk. I had a lot of time on my hands. I don't think it's hard to truly love someone when you struggle to love yourself. I admit, I'm sorry, it's hard to truly love someone when you struggle to love yourself. That blitz may be the best comment that anyone has ever left on my channel. And I'm not joking, right? Because the biggest struggle that I had in my relationships with people is that I still hated myself for things that you don't know and for a lot of the things that you do know. I've had things happen in my life that are too personal to talk about on this channel. Plain and simple. And the friendship of someone who once tried to destroy my life with a video actually really helped an awful lot to open up about some things that I didn't talk to in spite of the fact that I've been in 7 years of therapy. It's amazing what happens when people who literally seem like they can't agree on a freaking thing get together and have a conversation. Both of us were probably willing to lose the other, but not as a friend. And you know why? Because she was raised in a cult and had a childhood that I don't think many of you can imagine. I pray someday she writes a book because I know an awful lot about that past. I think it would be absolutely incredible. And I had a childhood that was a little different. Still stuck on the fish bike analogy. I got that from Q and I use it a lot. It's going to piss off the fish and it's going to waste your time. And I said to him, I love that. And he said, I stole it. And he said that always. He never once took credit for anything that he said that he got from somebody else. All I'm asking for is that people act like human beings. And when you don't, I'm going to call you out. If you come here and you say, hey, Charlie Kirk hated black people. If you can't back that up, if you can't tell me where that is, I'm going to lose my shit on you. I'm sorry. Because the example, I love the woman that I talked to the other day. I thought she was fantastic. But more importantly, I've had not one, not two, but three people that said, I went and listened to hours of Charlie Kirk looking for hate and couldn't find it. Well, I'll be damned. You went out and actually researched this stuff? Well, if I lose 200 more subscribers and 3 people became enlightened, because all it takes is one, you understand? Once you realize you're getting lied to, Once you realize the Trump thing, I don't like Trump. You hear me? I don't like the guy. I voted for him, but I'm so disappointed I can't put it into words, right? However, he was never convicted of rape. People love to say that. He's not a convicted rapist, and they say it every day, and they say it on news channels. No, he was convicted of slander. It's kind of a different thing. But if you keep repeating the same BS every time, for my ham and cheese sandwich fund, you know what? I swear to you on all that's holy, I'm putting that into the ham and cheese fund. The ham and cheese sandwiches keep getting thicker. Eventually, it's going to make us move to a country that's even less expensive. No, honestly, that roux means the world to me. That's a beautiful thing. I'm going to tell you something else. Somebody said to me, how come you don't talk about rehab anymore? Well, here you go. I'm going to give you the answer for real.
You do every Wednesday.
No, I do on Wednesday, to be sure. But I'll tell you why I don't talk about rehab anymore. Because I realized that I'm swimming upstream 90% of the time. It's not that we didn't help a lot of people. But if you consider that there are 5 million times that people watched, and there's probably maybe 100 people who I really, in one-on-one, really feel like maybe we made a difference in the person's life. But let me tell you something that is constant. In the United States of America, the rehab industry, and by the way, you get kicked from one rehab to the other. The first one you go into, you're going to fail. It's almost designed for you to fail because then you instantly go to the next one. They're going to bill your insurance and you go to the next tier where it's a little bit more intensive and they're all owned by the same companies. It's a hustle. But in the United States of America, you know what they do? Here's what they do. They give you a straw man, right? They got to give you somebody to blame because they believe that if you start feeling guilty, that you're going to end up using dope. And I have seen this happen, I can't tell you how many times, where they put it on your dad or they put it on your brother. Look, a lot of us had tough childhoods. It's not why I stuck a needle in my arm. I promise you it's not. It was, you won't go back and watch my early shows. I would come out and go, you got to own it. You got to own it. Nobody liked that at all. They need to blame it on someone else. We go over to the rehab in this country and the ownership of the things that they did, not just the drugs, but the things that they did when they were on it. This genius that wanted to leave a comment hasn't watched the 3,700 videos I've made because the stuff that I really did that was foul, she didn't mention any of it because she hasn't heard me admit it. I don't have to tell you guys that. I don't put clickbait titles like, let me tell you about the time I beat a guy or broke his fingers for cash, right? I will just admit to the things that I've done because, thank you, Will, you saved you. You saved you. You did the heavy lifting, but I appreciate that. I'm 61. I had a stroke about 14 years ago. I live with my mom. I no longer can use my right arm. Have to walk with a cane, but I am staying strong. Bill Vick, I had that happen to me. I was blessed, thank God, but I had a stroke. I was incarcerated at the time. And amazingly, I think it was probably one of the 3 or 4 times where I wasn't in a segregated housing unit, where I was on solitary confinement. And it was only because I didn't have a cellmate. You know, that they hadn't got somebody in yet in the county jail. But the way that this cell was, there was a bunk this way and a bunk that way. It was a very odd setup. You never see it like that. So I would sit on my bunk and I would play solitaire on the top bunk. And you can play solitaire for 3 days and not win. It's a frustrating game. If you don't cheat, it's a difficult thing. But I had a stroke while playing solitaire and collapsed to the ground, busted my lip, peed myself. It was absolutely awful. And I couldn't walk when it was done. I was in a wheelchair for 6 months. And when I got to Victorville, they went, yeah, we don't allow wheelchairs here. I was like, come again? They're like, we don't allow wheelchairs. So I got a walker and then they gave me a cane and I learned to walk with a cane. My right leg was in really, really bad shape. My hand came back pretty quick, but my right leg was all but worthless for a really long time. And I would burn through shoes. I remember my dad coming to visit me and he goes, what happened to your shoe? And I said, well, I kind of dragged my right toe when I walk. And my dad just started to weep. It was one of the worst. Honestly, it was just an awful, experience. I felt so horrible. I'm like, you know what though? These are old. I'm like, it's gotten a lot better. I've just had these shoes a long time. And yeah, it's a tough thing, but hang in there, man. Hang in there. God bless you. The rehab down here doesn't just ask these guys to take responsibility for the things that they do. They say, get up. We're going to work. This is your home. We're going to make it better. And they do it every day. And I'll be honest, when you walk out of that and you get someone on the horn and they go, well, my mom was crappy to me for the last 3 years. I just want to go, guess what, jackwagon, right? Put down the dope, take a little responsibility for yourself, treat your mother better. And that's kind of not the tone you need if you're trying to help people get sober. I had some people reach out to me in the last couple of days with questions that I could answer because they had very specific questions, and I was able to help some people with it. Made me feel really good. It really did. But I'm telling you right now, if you're hoping I'm going to tone this down, there isn't a chance in hell I'm going to tone this down. There isn't. And the fact that people reach out to me and say that wasn't fair and balanced proves why I can't back off. It wasn't fair and balanced because somebody on the other side was going to make an accusation that they could not back up. And I have been sitting and going like this for 4 years, listening to people say things that I knew were abject BS. And I thought to myself, it's not my job. It's not my job. And then they shot a guy who I had more respect for than the president of the United States or any other leader on the planet. And then I started feeling really guilty. Like maybe if a bunch of us stood up and had some balls, that wouldn't have happened. Maybe if a bunch of us were echoing what that man thought because we believe it, then maybe they wouldn't have shot him. But you see, they were able to put him up as an example of the worst of the worst. Hey, I miss you too, Jim Webster. You know what? Jim is a friend of mine that in person, you're all friends of mine, but Jim and I have a lot of history together. He's a friend of mine and just a great human being. I don't say that a lot. I really don't. Jim is a great human being and well-informed. Jim and I have had some conversations. He brings things sometimes that I'll go, holy crap, I didn't look at that. I didn't see it that way. And to me, that is the absolute money shot of my life. It really is. Sitting down and saying, I'm going to get sober because this black dude's going to help me. What do I have in common with this dude? He's in on a double murder, right? Gangbanger. What the hell do I have in common with this dude? The amount of stuff I have in common with Q is terrifying. It's terrifying. In fact, the stuff that we don't have in common is about this big, and it never bothered either of us. My skin color didn't bother him. His skin color didn't bother me. You know what pisses him off? It pisses him off that people keep trying to put all of us into a place where we're identified by our skin color. That's the definition of racism. When a woman stands up at the White House to do a press briefing and says, I'm a black lesbian woman. Fantastic, right? I'm a heterosexual, white, pissed off man. Because we don't need to be doing this. I don't need to know who you sleep with. I just want to know that you're a decent human being. But she said it 800,000 times over the course of the time she was in the White House, to the point where you just start going, okay, I get it. So we need to be able to break us into smaller chunks. Did you believe in the vaccine? Right? Demonetize that puppy. Did you believe in the vaccine? Huh? Because if you didn't, we can't be friends. How about gun control? Do you agree with me? If not, we can't be friends. What about abortion? If you don't agree, we can't be friends. What about who you voted for? By the time we get to it, the only friends you have are people that agree with you. That's the most dangerous thing on planet Earth. It is the most dangerous thing on planet Earth. It's amplified now because of the echo chambers that are being created by the smartest people on Earth when it comes to these things and computers, right? Did you see where Erica talked about Charlie would journal daily? Oh, I know that for a fact. Charlie has talked about that on his radio show a lot. Charlie journaled every single day. There's a part of me that thought, it would just be great if they ever, would print those, because his thoughts, he was a very, very, he was an intellectual cat. But I think that opening someone's journal, unless before they went, like Reagan, I read a lot of presidents, I've read their journals and things because they said you could go ahead and print these on my death. I don't think they should release any of those, but I bet it's a joy for her. You know what I mean? To have the ability to go back and look at that. Damien in Massachusetts. I love it. I know if I stood up at the White House and I said I identify as a black lesbian woman, I know everybody would be pissed off. Tommy Bird, absolutely. You know what's funny? Here we go. I still don't understand why Charlie Kirk didn't have better security. He was concerned someone would get shot and killed earlier in the year. It doesn't pass the smell test. Well, here's some other things that probably don't pass the smell test. Allegedly, the people that provided some of the body armor for him stopped providing it recently without much explanation. There's also allegedly, and I'm saying this for the same reason that I'm not saying, hey, there were 2 shooters. For the woman that's already decided that there are 2, I'm going to wait and find out, right? I'm not going to go out and put misinformation out because I have been watching misinformation become facts for so long, right? Play it again, Sam. Never got said in any movie. But everyone, there's 100 million people that can pass a lie detector test that they heard Humphrey Bogart say it in the film. Because if you keep repeating things, they also never said, Luke, I am your father. But everybody says it. If you just keep repeating a lie, it will become part of the fabric of the world that you live in. I'm calling that out for the rest of my days on planet Earth. And if that chaps your backside, then you're on the wrong channel. For real. And I can love you and disagree with you. I can. It doesn't pass the smell test. How come you can identify as anything except a black person? I guess you don't have to be white to pretend. Well, a lot of people do. There are people that actually are doing that, believe it or not. But then they start to scream racism. I don't know if you've ever seen the videos. There's a guy that will put on clothing. He'll put on a poncho with a big sombrero on, and he'll even carry maracas. And then he walks up to people and goes, hey, do you like the outfit? And white people tear him in half. It is so racist. That is racial appropriation. You're stealing their identity. Holy hell, America was a melting pot, right? Ask Reese about enchiladas. You know, we took everyone from everywhere, and it became this beautiful thing. But now it's racial appropriation. If you wear hoop earrings, that's only for black chicks. What the hell's the matter with you, you racist bastard, right? Put on blackface, and you are the evilest person on planet Earth. Have you ever seen a movie called White Girls? Huh? Where two black guys have professional makeup put on to look like white girls and just bag on the stereotypes of white women for 2 hours. Where's the picket lines? Huh? And if we're keeping it real, how about if I opened up a television show station tomorrow and called it White Entertainment Television? Think I'd get in trouble? Do you know that Harvard has a black graduation just for black students? Why? Why? They have black only dorms. Why? Because the more you can divide us, the easier we are to control. So I don't care if you agree with me or you disagree with me 100%. You better keep your eye on the bad guy, because it ain't me. The people in government, Nancy Pelosi, $412 million net worth with a salary of $170,000 a year. One of my crimes was for violating the Act of 1933. I actually did time for that. She does it every single day of her life. It's called insider trading. Actually, the act covers a bunch of crap, but insider trading, here's the other thing. If you think it's only the left, don't buy that BS. Everybody does it. And I don't mean everybody. I mean each party. If you get a list of the top people whose wealth grew once they got into office, it is a damn split between the right and the left. How do you get into that environment and not become a scumbag? The very nature of our politics in the United States of America makes you a scumbag. You get a bill in and it's a great bill. You write this thing because you believe in it, right? This is important. It's going to save kids. It's going to do this. And then you got to go get the votes, right? And to get the votes, when you call the first guy, he goes, yeah, I'll vote, right? I'll vote. But we're going to add this in an earmark to the bottom of the bill. It's only going to make the bill go up by about $30 million. Don't worry about it. I'm really enjoying Pissed Off Tommy. Sure you are. I'm kidding. The only thing that could save the government is getting corporate money out of it. That's a great idea. You know what else would work instantly? Here's a really interesting concept. Tell me what you think. Don't raise the budget 15% next year on every single thing in the government. There are parts of the government that don't need a 15% bump. I got an idea. Why don't you say for anybody that can cut their budget by 20% next year, you'll get the same amount of money for next year. But if you can't cut that budget, we're going to whack it by 40%. Watch how fast they start trimming the fat. But there's no reason to. And you understand that every one of these people has their own little fiefdom. Like the asshole that I worked for in Terre Haute, right? The guy that bought the food. At the end of I told you the story. He's like, we got to get the ovens out of here. And I went, we cleaning them? He's like, no, we're getting rid of them. We're getting new ones in. I go, how old are those ovens? He goes, 4 years, 4.5 years. I said, how long are they supposed to last? He goes, 30, and started laughing. You bought an oven that can work for 30 years and you're getting it out of there at 4. Can you make me understand this? He said, if we don't spend all of the money in our budget, we don't get a 15% bump the next year. We're literally incentivizing people to waste money so that their little fiefdom will have 15% more to waste the next year. but don't get it effed up. I said to him, where do they go to get sold? He said, they have an auction here in town. I said, and I'm a piece of crap, people. I mean, I'm still in prison at this point. I go, you ain't got any relatives going out there to bid on any of this stuff, do you? And he just started laughing. He goes, not the ovens. It's a con. The whole thing is a con. And people don't want to give up their fiefdom. The war on drugs, we have spent more money on the war on drugs than we have spent on anything in the United States of America other than the military. And in the military, what? We're like 10-2 or something, right? I mean, we've done pretty well with the military. What have we done on the war on drugs? So there was a victory today. I'm not even sure if it's hit the papers, but there's a victory that they're announcing. 500 tons of cocaine. Can't say cocaine either, Johnny Scoville. I'll demonetize you for saying that, even if you're an anti-drug channel. 500. It's a lot of dope. Anyway, that's not a victory. I mean, you shot a couple of people, but it's not even a battle one. Now, they're going after the cartel, something vicious right now. They are. But that's just one more great thing, isn't it? We're sending boats to South America. We have nuclear pardon me, God help me. We have nuclear weapons in the air right now. As we speak, there are planes flying around with nukes. That's how close we are, folks. I'm not making that up. Look it up. We are so close to World War III right now, and you're not going to get the news. Plain and simple, you're not going to get it. That's probably the second F-bomb I've ever dropped on this channel. I'm not joking. I'm pissed. I'm pissed because no one else seems to be. You know? Get to Washington and reach across the aisle to have people go, I'm not going to do it. Look at this. You can't say faggot. She said faggot. Faggot is in the dictionary as a bundle of sticks. Yeah, I caught a lot of hell because Johnny and I were walking around, and there's a guy that sells sticks in bundles every single day, right? Because people use them for a lot of things, but they use them to cook with, and it's different flavors of wood. So you can get mesquite, you can get other things. Cliff Ann Ferguson, good to see you. So what you end up with is a guy that sells it, and he puts a little tin can in it, and he lights it on fire. So as you start to walk down the street, and we live very close to here, so every time we walk down the street, you smell it. And I said to my brother, hey, I smell faggots. And then I said that on the air. You can't know the hell I got for saying I smell faggots. Guess what? I don't hate black people. I mean, I'm sorry, gay people. I don't. I don't care. If you're in love with a man, it's got nothing to do with me. It doesn't. You ever watch the Rubin Report? I think that guy's fantastic. Very good friends. Very good friends. One of the best friends of Charlie Kirk. Gay man. Apparently all of the haters didn't get that memo. Do I like the blue-haired people that are running around on the left screaming about how I need to change how I speak or I should be put in jail? A guy comes in with a beard and I go, hey, sir, how you doing? Don't you call me sir. I'm sorry, man. It used to be wicked easy. I don't know. What do you want me to call you? They, them. Go F yourself. I'm not calling you they, them. Why the hell would I call you they, them? I'm sorry. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And it started as a joke by the conservatives. A conservative talk show guy said, how long before we get to neo-pronouns where they start just making stuff up? And now you meet people who go, my pronouns are zit and thou. Get the hell out of here, man. You're she, you're he. That's how it goes. We have a language. When you start manipulating language, you're in 1984. Anybody read that book? Or do you just claim to have read that book so that you sound articulate? It's called newspeak. And when the government can get you to say things that are abject BS, like a man can have a baby, then they can get you to do anything. When you give up something that you know in your heart of hearts, Bill Nye, the science guy, says that science cannot tell you what a woman is. F yourself. How much of a sellout are you? Science can't tell you what a woman is. How about a Supreme Court justice that says, I can't tell you what a woman is. I'm not a biologist. Well, a vagina is a good start, right? That usually helps. We really can't even have these conversations without me pissing people off who are going to say to me, you're a hater. No, I love women. I love them. I'm tired of seeing them get crapped on and called things like deadhead. Thank you, my brother. There are two genders. I'm sorry, there are. There are. Now, if you want to go out there on the other side, let's do three. Right? You got male, female, or someone who's transitioning. I got to give you, this is no lie, man. This is no lie. One of them is, I'm born as a man, but that man wants to be a woman. Or that man knows deep inside they're a woman, but that woman wants to transition to a man. Are you kidding me? How long did you have to sit up to make that up? We can't cut out the middleman and just be happy with our junk. Body dysmorphia is a real thing, and it is getting amplified intentionally by TikTok. And TikTok is making it cool as hell to be trans, right? Because the people that aren't trans, those are the old white guy dicks that have been running the world for the entire time. The new people, they believe that, you may not be who you are. I got news for you, man. Hate me for it. I don't think God makes mistakes. How's that? I don't think God makes mistakes. And I think when you say, I'm not a man, even though I have a penis, you're saying God made a mistake. You can hate me for that. And I'm not saying you can't live your life that way, but you're going to come to my house and tell me what I have to call you. There's a good chance I'm punching you in the face. There is. I'm not Charlie Kirk. I'm Tommy Scoville. You're never going to tell me what words I can use. I still say faggot. How's that? And I've never said it to a gay man on the entire time I have been on planet Earth. I don't hate people. I don't do that stuff. I've never called a black guy the N-word. I'm not that cat. I am a live and let live guy. If you really want to know the truth, I'm a libertarian, man. I'm not anything but. I am a libertarian. Stay the hell out of my life. I don't need a government for anything. And I live in a place where the government doesn't do anything. They don't. They're not even paving roads. And this is absolutely the happiest I've ever been. You know the other reason? Because the echo chambers don't exist here. They don't. Try to have a conversation with somebody in Ecuador about trans rights and about how whether or not a man who identifies as a woman can get into a locker room and have a shower. And I've done this. I'm not making this up hypothetically. I do it all the time because I am fascinated. And they look at me and do this one like a black lab does. Like, are you really asking me this question? Men have penises and they should be in the men's locker room. Like, the answers are so, you just go, well, that actually makes a whole lot of sense, doesn't it? But this past Sunday, as I was coming back from church, my brother and I were walking up the Malecon, and we passed three groups of people having prayer vigils for Charlie Kirk. They weren't carrying signs, right? In fact, I had to ask after I passed the third one because I'm like, what are they doing? Right? What the heck's going on out here? And one of the locals who spoke enough English said, Charlie Kirk. And I just went, God, that's beautiful. They're not doing it for anybody's benefit, right? They just want to have a moment to say, that wasn't right. Let something good come at us. And if we're having conversations, then something good is coming from it. But the biggest danger in the world is that we use this to tighten the screws on what we do to other Americans. And I think Trump's going to do that. You can go ahead and hate me for that, but I think that's what's coming. Right? And I'm not celebrating James Comey getting arrested. He deserves it. He does. There's no getting around it. He deserves it. Letitia James does. And there's more coming. John Bolton, I promise you, he's getting it too. You can't do what you did to the president. It's called sedition, right? If I try to get rid of the president who's in office right now, that's called sedition. It's a big deal. In fact, they used to smoke people for that shit. You know what I'm saying? That could get you a firing squad back in the day. Now we go, you can't put him in jail for that because he was in the last administration. So if the guy in the last administration rapes the president's daughter, can we put him in? Oh, that's a lock. We can do that one, right? But if he lies knowingly to the board, right, that we elected to determine laws in this country, if he just goes in and BS's it and then doesn't even have the common decency to keep his mouth shut, right? Then he goes on a talk show and brags about it. Yeah, he needs to get arrested. But you realize what the left is going to do with this? What do you think the Jimmy Kimmel show is going to do with this? By the way, listen up, everybody. I have conned women out of cash, crap loads of it. There's not a one on this planet I haven't apologized to, right? And I'm here right now telling you I did it. Did you hear Jimmy Kimmel? I didn't either. But I read the transcripts. And he didn't say he was sorry. He said, if I offended anybody, that's a hell of an apology. If I did that. And then he said, what I said was not meant to blame this on any party. Let me tell you what he said. He said, they're trying to do anything they can to make it seem like that guy was anything but one of theirs. He was referring to MAGA. That's absolutely, I'm a wordsmith. Take my word for this one. I'm a professional public speaker. Don't try this at home. That's exactly what that man said. He said, his people killed him. And then he came on and said, yeah, I didn't say that. He doesn't even have the common decency to apologize and take responsibility. So to the woman that said, so God just forgives you, you get to go to heaven on that. Isn't that fortunate? Well, maybe you didn't read the book, right? I know she didn't read the book. But if you actually read the book, it says, if you truly repent, that's what it says, right? You have to repent. All of those people that go, Christianity sucks. You telling me that Ted Bundy could, just ask God for forgiveness? No, he would have to truly repent. And I don't think Ted Bundy was capable of that. I don't. I think he was a psychopath, and I don't think any of those emotions were capable for that cat. However, if he truly repented, yeah, that's how it works. He hired the greatest lawyer in history. And when you get to the other side for judgment, he steps up and goes, no, that one's with me. That's how that works. In my faith. It doesn't have to be your faith. But I can articulate what my faith is. And if that pisses you off, I'm sorry. Well, I'm not. But I could be if I were nicer. I admit, I think it's interesting when a man has surgery to be a woman and then becomes a lesbian. Kind of odd, right? There is a married couple in the United States where a man transitioned to a woman and a woman transitioned to a man. Are you kidding me? You guys couldn't have just got together and said, we'll stick with our own equipment. I can call you whatever you want. And, to save a hell of a lot of money, a lot of pain. And most of those surgeries don't go well. Do a little research. Do you know what the average person that transitions, 3 out of 10 attempt suicides in their life? That's a little higher than the average, folks. Body dysmorphia is an ugly thing. It really is. If you're in a body that you don't think you believe in, that's hard, man. But don't celebrate it. Get them some therapy, right? Don't celebrate it. It's one of those things that makes you scratch your head, right? And I promise you, I may not be here to see it, but I promise you, people are going to go, hey, you know what? Maybe we screwed up really bad on that. You go, they don't do that. Oh, no, they do, right? They do. Like the frontal lobotomy. We gave that guy a Peace Prize for that. Scrambling the brains of people with an ice pick. We've solved crime. Just take those bad criminals and fry the front of their brains. Problem is, some of those criminals reform. Maybe not all of them. I mean, the statistics are pretty horrible. It's about 15%. But there are people that get out, don't do drugs again, don't rip people off, and just get on with their lives. Not if you scramble the frontal lobe, though. Then you got to babysit them the rest of their lives because they kind of walk around doing this number. And we had to settle money with every one of those people. How about the Tuskegee? When we went down and gave syphilis to black people. Yeah, we admitted that one too. How about eugenics? Another person that got the Nobel Prize. Yeah, if we just kill off everyone who isn't perfect, think of how great it'll be. Does that sound like Hitler? Well, we were giving people the Nobel Prize for it. We're going to look back at what we did to kids the same way. Isn't it more than just body parts being changed in appearance? What about the psychological issues? Well, what about taking estrogen and giving a man crap loads of it, or giving testosterone to a woman? It's not how we're designed. And they go, well, there's no science to back that up. That's because you asses have only been doing it for what, a decade, 2 decades? Oh, that's good. We don't even know what meth does to you. And people have been doing it now for a half a century. We're just starting to realize all of the damage that drugs do. Even heroin. We're learning so much more about what the morphine molecule does in the body. And it's been around since before Christ. But we feel confident to tell you cutting the junk off your 8-year-old is the right thing to do. If you're not going to hell, you should. Straight up, you should. And the sad thing is, there are parents now who do it when the kid's 2. Why? Because it's so much more fun at the PTA club if you got a cool kid. If you got one of those kids that's transitioning, you can tell all your friends. One of the people that I was married to has 2 brothers. Between those 2 brothers, they have 3 trans kids. What are the odds of that? Honest to God. If you do the math and you do it by body dysmorphia, that's winning the Powerball 9 times. So obviously there's something else at play. And what it is we've never had this piece of crap in our lives to tell you that what you have is cool. There are millions and millions of channels between TikTok and YouTube of people that celebrate illnesses, right? Now, I'm not here to say we need to eliminate anything, right? I think people with Down syndrome are beautiful human beings. There are countries that kill babies if they know that they're going to be born that way. I think that's disgusting. If you dislike me for that, that's all good. But I think that's disgusting. And it's a slippery slope, right? What happens when we absolutely get the ability through brain scans and things like that to find out that a guy like me has a propensity to rob a bank or to hurt somebody physically? What if they go, yeah, this guy's got the propensity to be violent. Well, then we should just kill him before he grows. And I'll tell you something. It took me 46 years to get my shit together. But I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not. I'm living a life right now. Admittedly, I'm living a life that is probably way, way different than what I ever anticipated. I don't talk to a lot of people anymore. I don't. A lot of you have reached out and said, hey, I'd love to talk to you. I don't talk to people anymore. It's just not something I do. And I'm sure that bums a lot of people out. I'm glad they didn't kill me because of what they think might be in my head, because I promise you that's coming. I promise you that's coming. So things like miraculous transformations will be a thing of the past. Did you ever read Brave New World? We're not that far off, people. Yeah. So if I'm coming off a little harsh, I'm sorry. Maybe I was watching a man that literally had absolutely no reason to be killed, get killed, and watch assholes celebrate it. And then have those assholes show up to tell me that he's this, that, or the other with the inability to articulate it. Now, there's a big difference between people who come and say, this is what I heard. I'm not calling that person an asshole. I'm calling the people assholes who send me emails, list 5 things that Charlie Kirk said. I send them back, which, you know what? I'm not good at this. This is not my forte. I send them back 5 little clips of actually what he said. And down below that, I put, this is the newspaper that printed, he said this, and this is when they did the retraction. And I sent all of it to him. And you know what he sent me back? F you. I'm not kidding you. Hey, you proved every one of my points wrong. Go F yourself. Are you kidding? So that's where we're at. Bill Maher said it best. They will not discuss it with you. That's not my friend from the other night. She's fantastic. She really is. If anything, I was probably not as nice. I tend to lose it if I ask you a question and you answer it with another question, right? If I say to you, tell me one thing that Charlie Kirk said that was hateful, and you go, and Trump sucks. Yeah, he does. But that's not what we're discussing, right? And a master debater, see what I did there? A master debater can do that. If you don't like the question you're asked, answer another one. Politicians do it at every single town hall event I have ever seen in my life. If you don't like the question that's asked, just answer another one. Well, not on my channel. I promise you, you're on my porch. It sucks. All these chemicals in our food and drink, people's figures have been changing drastically through the years, and it's scary they have that much power. You're damn right. You're damn right. You know what else really used to help? This may come as a shocker to you. But fathers used to actually be in the lives of daughters, and mothers used to be in the lives of sons. And they used to say things like, you're perfect, princess. I promise you. You're growing into a woman and you're perfect. This is how everybody proceeds to womanhood. You're gorgeous and you're going to blossom in a way. There's no dad there saying that. So they go to places like TikTok and they say, well, the reason that you look in the mirror and don't see a supermodel is because you're actually a boy. No girl at 13 looks in the mirror and sees a supermodel. So if you just give them enough, well, maybe they'll just start taking some testosterone instead. And if you're cool with that, why don't you send me an email and we can come on here and have a very calm discussion. Go back and watch every single person I've ever had on this channel and see me yell at one. I caught a guy in a lie, on a live, who I had on my show 20 times. Turns out that each time he was on there, he was drunk. Didn't slur. He was a master at being drunk and having a conversation. He was articulate. He was intelligent. He had a great accent. But 5 shows earlier, which literally had been a couple of months because I didn't have him on that often, he said to me, yeah, it was a tough weekend. My dad died. And then I'm listening to him and he goes, so my dad picked me up this morning and I'm texting one of my friends. I was like, did this guy ever say he had a stepdad? You know how bad I wanted to jump that dude's crap with the entire world watching? I'm a respectful cat. I'm not yelling at anybody here. I'm yelling at a camera. Come on and have a conversation with me. I think you'd be amazed. Damien, an amazing dad goes a long way, right? I still managed to end up in prison. And it was on me. My parents didn't do anything that put me in prison. I had some things happen to me. None of those things put me in prison. I did. Hear that? Hold on. Let me see what this chick's name was again. Maybe I'll say hi to her. Carrie Hoberg. Huh? I put myself in prison. I don't blame it on anybody else. And you know what? I did my number. I didn't piss and moan the whole time I was in there and file papers. I went in and I did my number. My crimes have been paid for. If that's something else you can't deal with, that's fine. I understand. I honest to God understand. And the longer I'm out, the more I understand. I watch things now on the news and go, lock that dude up and throw away the key. I never thought I'd be that guy. I watch videos and I root for the cops. You have no idea how weird that feels. Honest to God. You know, I have a very strange relationship with law, but I find myself rooting for them. I watch guys get out of the cops, pull people up in cars and say, I want you to get out of the car. I don't feel safe to get out of the car with you. What are you, woofing me? I was a criminal. Cops said, get out of the car. I got out of the car, right? It's authority. He's got a gun. But once morality becomes yours, then your morality says, hey, you're triggering me, man. I'm not getting out of the car. You can't do that to me. These are the same people that go to hairdressers and the hairdresser says, do I have permission to touch you? We're that friggin' snowflakey now as a society? Well, see, yeah, you have to be, right? Because they're doing this number. They're doing this number. And God forbid, if you can't tell what gender they are, be very careful. They get really pissed if you say, sir or miss, and you get it wrong. I promise you, they get really angry. All right. I don't want to run this thing too long. I really don't. I want to thank you for the support. Yesterday, I did a show where I came on and said, I'm going to name my positive attributes. It'll be a short show. I wasn't fishing for compliments, but I got a email from someone, and I don't know if this person ever wants to be put on blast, so I'm not going to say who it is. It was the most beautiful email I ever received from anyone. It really was, and it came at a great time. But so many people left beautiful comments. If I didn't respond, it's because I'm embarrassed. To be really honest with you, it's embarrassing. You know, I'm aware that I'm not Charlie Kirk. I'm never, hashtag I am Charlie Kirk. No, I'm not. I promise you I'm not. I am real likely to punch someone in the face. And I'm trying real hard to get better about that. But my brother said eloquently earlier, you know what? There's no excuse ever for violence. I don't believe that. But because someone said something, no. Now, you come into my house and say something, it's a different thing. I'm not going to let people come in my house and speak any way they want or do anything they want. But in the real world, no, you're going to have to hurt someone I care about or put hands on me. And at that point, I'm going to crush you. And it's funny that Johnny said that because he's got priors. So I'll leave it at that. UN just condemned the shooting death of Charlie Kirk. Well, isn't that freaking fascinating? Thank you. We couldn't get our own government to do it. Couldn't get a unanimous vote on that. Can you believe we couldn't get a unanimous vote on that? Huh? No Republicans voted against it because we're that separated. And I'll be honest, it was a lot of the lunatic fringe. It was Andrea Ocasio-Cortez, who literally knows less about government and history than Squirrel Nut Zipper. I don't know if you've ever heard the woman talk, but she is an absolute bonehead. How that woman got into office. Now they did audition her for the role or whatever. I'm thinking if she was homely, she probably wouldn't have been brought on. Sad but true. She was a bartender, and nothing wrong with bartenders at all. I just don't want them in running the country. You know what I mean? Maybe somebody that at least could pass a civics test might be a decent idea. Didn't stop her from writing a couple of really great bills in the first 2 months she was there because they don't really write the bills, right? They don't. And they're talking about it for president. I'm not kidding you. She is going to run for Senate in the next election. Watch. And then they're going to try to run her for the office, because if you're going with, I said to you, you're going to see a populist president. You're going to see a lunatic president. You think Trump's a nut? Wait till you see what's coming. Somebody in my brother's chat said, you're going to look back someday and think these were good days because of how bad it's going to get. And I promise you, he's right. Be of good cheer. This thing ends the right way for all of the people that are smart enough to realize that this thing ends the right way. I'm going to recommend that you buy a book, starts in Genesis, ends in Revelation. That's my personal opinion. You don't have to follow it. But I also heard Johnny tell the story of this building doing the Club Babalua, shaken back and forth by 2 feet. And I'm not going to lie to you. I was ready for this thing to come down. The thought I had was, I'm about to go see the old man, right? My dad, I'm going to say to my dad, yeah, it was an earthquake in a high-rise apartment in Ecuador. Try to explain that with the old man. All right, people, between now and the next time I see you, don't let people speak their mind without you asking them to articulate why they believe that. Don't do it. We have been allowing this to go on for so long. And I'm not kidding you. I was a senior in high school when they started saying there will be no more condoms, there'll be no more birth control. They've said it in every election my entire life. And I got to hear every new batch of 20-year-olds crying about how they're about to lose their birth control. No, he didn't. I love you, DNV, and I got a deal for you. You bring back tomorrow some of the hateful things that Charlie Kirk said, because I don't allow people to say things that they can't back up. And you cannot back up one thing that Charlie Kirk said that is hateful. I would like you to. I have done this challenge to every single person that has said this. I'm not busting your chops. But anything that you tell me is something that you heard in the news. It's not something you heard come out of Charlie Kirk's mouth. And if it did, then they cut off the end of the sentence, like they did when Trump said, there are good people on both sides of this. Of course, I'm not talking about the white supremacists. You do realize that's how that sentence ended. But that's not how they played it. Or when the Trayvon Martin killing happened in Florida, they had such a political slant that when the 911 call, when he said, what does the guy look like? And he said, I don't know. He's got a hoodie on. I can't really tell. He might be black. Yeah, no, he looks black. They edited it to say he looks really suspicious. He's black. He won a fortune for that. But you know how many people out there still believe he said it? Huh? Look up a guy named Richard Jewell. DNV, I've loved you from Jump Street, but I promise you, you will not find me one thing that you can show me that Charlie Kirk said that was hateful. He was a Christian. It was his defining characteristic. He did not have hate in his heart. What you have done is listen to other people say, Charlie Kirk said this. Charlie Kirk said that. You cannot bring me an example. But if you can, I'd be happy to buy you dinner. Pick your favorite restaurant. I'll send you the money. Bring it back. I'll be here tomorrow, DNV, and I still love you. Hope you don't hate me. That man never said a hateful thing anytime he was on the air once. That's kind of why I'm pissed. All right, everyone. I'll see you on the next one. I'm Tommy. I love you. Good night.